I will then move on to the next person on this panel, Francis, Mr. Francis Anatogu.
Good morning, Deji. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Francis, we can hear you. Go on, please.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Francis, go on.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. For some reason, my video won't come on, but at least I should be able to share my screen and show my presentation. It's really a pleasure to be with you this morning. I think Yewande has done part of my job, so I'll just quickly go through the readiness. I think the key thing to ask is, why are we doing AFCFTA? And you can look at it from two angles, the Africa perspective and the Nigeria perspective. One is AFCFTA is part of a much broader agenda, the Agenda 2063, what is now Agenda 2063. It is an agenda that has been there since the 1960s, when we all African countries gained independence, about building a strong Africa, economic Africa, because our founding fathers recognized that you need that economic strength to project political power. We recognized that there are various elements to that, of which the AFCFTA is one, and AFCFTA in itself is a first step. The objective is a customs union. And it is that customs union, when you get that customs union, similar to what we have in ECOWAS today, that it becomes easier to manage some of the difficulties that are causing some of the unease, if you will. It is important to recognize that the AFCFTA goes beyond just tariffs to even harmonizing national policies, joint investments, establishing contacts and promoting information flow among trading organizations, not just state commercial enterprises, but also chambers of commerce and associations. So there is the policy space, the public sector space, but there is the private sector space. And indeed, AFCFTA will not be successful if the businessmen and women of Africa do not make the investments that are required to produce the products and the services that we will sell amongst one another. If you come to the Nigeria's perspective, for so long, for as long as I can remember, we have desired to industrialize. We've had a number of policies. We've had the backward integration and all of that, but and we have them up to now. But one thing is clear: our main source of export revenue or foreign revenue is oil. The future of oil is in question. The uncertainties in our economy and so on is as a result of the cyclical nature of oil. So for as long as we depend on oil, we will keep having a yo-yo economy. Now, AFCFTA, you can say, is coming to the rescue to the extent that it is now providing us a platform to diversify, and not just diversify, but diversify under preferential terms, in terms of reducing tariff. So if, for instance, you you have 10% reduction. So if your product is sold duty free, that's 10% advantage over China and other places. In some products, that is huge. In others, maybe not. But that is that to put it in perspective about why AFCFTA is important. If you bring it down to individual and businesses, then look at it. We are still an import-dependent economy. Our capital goods are mostly imported with foreign currency. In a situation where the value of our currency keeps depreciating, you are losing value for doing even for no action. So one of the benefits of AFCFTA and international trade or export trade is actually to hedge against the devaluation of the local currency, and this is huge. So for us, moving to creating jobs, growing our economy, protecting our wealth as individuals, businesses, and as a nation, we need to do AFCFTA. And AFCFTA is really the first step in the journey towards export-led growth for the Nigerian economy, because there's a bigger, much bigger opportunity out there. Africa's trade constitutes less than 2% of global trade. So as big as Africa is, and it is huge, we are chasing about 2% of global trade. And that is if we get 100% of it. So if you then come and say, where are really the opportunities? And as Yewande mentioned, Africa imports mostly the kind of things that we want to produce and sell. In manufacturing, in oil and gas, which is an area undoubtedly we have a competitive advantage, in agriculture and in services. And you can see the kind of figures we're talking about. Nigeria's total export of oil, the big oil that makes us very big, is about $50 billion, roughly, $50–60 billion per annum. But that in itself is less than refined petroleum and auto parts imports by Africa. So the opportunity is huge. Africa imports about 85% of its products. So the opportunity, that tells you the size of the market that we have. In the services, the story is the same. If you look at it, if you go a bit deeper, and you find out that a good number of the products that we have selected in our development plans, the national plans, sector plans, and so on, are in high demand in Africa. And you look and you find the other thing, looking at the markets, and you find that really the market could be everywhere, but if we target a number of countries, we will go far. So the Pareto principle will apply. This is just an example for products, agricultural products, but the story is the same in manufactured products and so on. Also, even in digital technology, one day I've shown you that the banks, the digital technology is the same thing. And really, our Nigerian companies are already moving out to Africa. The story has been that countries in Africa are blocking our businesses from actually establishing and doing business. So AFCFTA provides a rule-based platform for us to gain access to African markets. Then comes our readiness. So, and what you're looking at is, what we have identified, kind of call it the pillars that we must focus on to be ready. Now, when you say readiness, I think it is important to say that this is a long-term program. When we did the impact and readiness assessment, what we found is that most African countries are using AFCFTA as that burning platform to do what is necessary. For us as well, this is what it is. Nobody can be ready. There are so many things that need to be done. Yes, we have the framework agreement. The devil is in the detail. The devil is in the implementation. You need to have institutions, you need to have processes, and those processes need to work in practice. You need to be able to pick up a phone, or a customs man in Nigeria needs to be able to pick up a phone in Nigeria and call a counterpart in South Africa on a good that is already there at the port and make inquiries and get an answer within reasonable time. You need to have mutual recognition agreements that would enable a Nigerian engineer to pick up his bag and go to South Africa and practice engineering or law or whatever it is. We need customs cooperation agreements which will allow customs of African countries to share information and to relate. Doing that in itself requires, in some cases, changes in laws of African countries. So the journey that we are taking is a long-term journey that will require a lot of changes, not only in policies, but in regulations and laws, and not just for Nigeria, but for every African country. Now, if we look at it in terms of implementation and readiness, we can look at it from implementing the provisions of the agreement. We are part of ECOWAS. We now have a market service offer that says those products that are part of the 90%, and by the way, at the moment, 90% that will be liberalized, and those that will be in the sensitive and exclusive list. Trade in services is lagging behind because of COVID, but it is something that will be worked on. Again, work in progress. Rules of origin negotiations have been going on, and 80% of the products have been agreed and will now be implemented while negotiations continue on the remaining 20% in 2021. I've talked about the customs cooperation and mutual recognition and mutual administrative assistance is about that customs cooperation I talked about. Access to the market, non-tariff barriers is another area that Nigeria and African countries will work on for a long period to come. The same in standards, the same in, and then there's the dispute settlement mechanism. And the only point I'll make here is that when some of the things that we now need to do are some of the things that we should have done when we joined WTO. Some are the things we should have done when we had the common external tariff. So it is, and we now need to do them, and that is establishing a trade remedies authority that would constantly keep on the lookout for predatory trade practices, flag them, and follow through in making sure that those practices are stopped, and slapping duties and taking actions where countries refuse to follow the rules. If we do that, we may not need to get to the extent of closing borders. But it is important to mention that it's a breakdown of the rules that lead to certain severe actions like closing borders. Bringing down to the in terms of readiness, every single sector we've looked at, we've identified that in some cases, either the policy, regulations, or laws would need to be updated. And you find that a number of Nigerian laws are pre-digital age. Some of them are even pre-independent. So there's a lot of work that we need to do there, and it's not something that will happen in a year, not even in 2 or 3 years. But one of the actions that we have kicked off at the National Action Committee is to conduct an audit of relevant laws and regulations that we need to change, either to comply with AFCFTA agreement or to make it easier for businesses to do their thing. Trade facilitation and ease of doing business, this is a big area. For a big country like Nigeria, the opportunity for us is not so much from the tariff reduction, but from facilitating trade, making it easier for trade to happen. When trade happens the way we want it, there will be increase in imports, but there will also be increase in exports. And that is really enlarging the pie. There's a major project that has been on ease of doing business, which we need to continue, and it's continuing as we speak. The production, service capacity, and growth is essentially we need to grow what to sell, be it products, be it services. And I've shown you some of the areas where we have where we've seen opportunities. The important thing is the opportunities are huge and are diverse, and it cuts across the value chain. Market access is actually now deliberately getting our products from Nigeria to those markets, whether it's in the form of going the Chinatown model or establishing contact points in those countries to make sure that our goods get there and are distributed is something that needs to happen. The quality infrastructure is a major area that we are focusing on, and the reason is simple. For our products to get into Africa, it needs to satisfy the NAFDAC, the SON rules, but it also needs to satisfy the NAFDAC equivalent and the SON equivalent and the NAQS equivalent in the target countries, the destination countries. So, and this is a key area. So certifying to global standards is a key readiness action for us. The skills and human capacity development, really for a country of 200 million, this in itself is huge. This is really, besides oil, the next advantage we have is our population. Financing, investment, and incentives is another area. And thankfully, 5-10 years ago, the complaint was around double-digit loans. What we see now is that we are seeing single-digit loans becoming available to the private, to the real sector, and we are learning. Every organization is learning, improving, and this can only get better as we go. So, and the last one is about governance and policy coordination, and this is huge because really every agency needs to now see what they do in context of what other people do, if we are to achieve the objectives of export, increasing our export. And this gradually, this is happening. A lot needs to be done, but it won't come overnight. So essentially, we are in a marathon, but it's a marathon where we don't have a choice. We are doing a lot in growing and trying to fix our power, fix our regulatory environment, and all of that. But as far as AFCFTA is concerned, we can go ahead and do all of these. But if we do that, but we don't secure the market, then there will be no space for us to trade. So we must do those as we take on AFCFTA. So I will stop here. And we'll take on questions. But the important thing is that we have a platform to really diversify Nigeria's economy, protect our wealth as businesses and individuals going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. Francis, I honestly do not know how to feel listening to you, but what I hear is we should start to, close the dance floor, particularly concerning oil revenues. And AFTA AFCFTA is not a matter of choice, but it has come upon us, and we must prepare ourselves. I mean, there are many things happening at the same time. So you're getting ready, and at the same time you're running. So whether you like it or not, we're in the race. I really cannot stop a Ghanaian business from, or a Ghanaian service from coming to compete with me in Lagos. I must up my game, and the game is on. It's swim or sink.